Welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. My name is Wanaka Overhuber, and I'm your host. My guest today is Matthew Lesko. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm ready for a while. Now, I hear your background is in early childhood, and this may relate to you. I'm in the waiting room in the hospital. I just had my fourth grandchild. So he's upstairs recovering with mama. So after you, I hope I could maybe see them both. They just got out of the operation.
Congratulations. That's a great thing to experience with your family. Yeah. So I will start with the first question. And thank you for sharing that personal background of where you are. And we will delve into the topics of family, perhaps, if that comes up. Anyways, let's start with the first question. How did you come to see the world the way you do today?
Wow. Well, I'm 81, so it's hard to remember back that far. But it was a great journey. I mean, I've done more than I ever thought I would do. And even at 81, I work harder now than ever before in my life. It's more successful than ever before. So that's why if you're middle-aged or something, man, there's a hell of a lot life left. And you can still work on it and get good at this shit because, man, I never thought of growing up. My grandparents died in their 60s, yeah. So I'm 20 years ahead on these people. That's a whole new career. And that's the thing about living long is you have to. Things change so quickly. We're living long, so anything you learn in the beginning of your career, it's going to be useless pretty soon. and the problem of living long is that everything, by the time you learn something and get it down, it goes out of date. And then you have to start all over again. And any success you have earlier in life becomes a handicap because you're trying to make it work again. And it won't work again in the current environment. I wrote reference books, okay? Nobody buys reference books anymore. And it took me 30 years to get good at that. And then as soon as it was, then the game changes. To me, the basic is, it's hard to, I think the hardest thing I learned was that your heart is smarter than your brain. And we, particularly as younger people, you try to be smart and think that, if you have all the experts and get all the knowledge and everything, you make the right decisions. And I think that's bullshit anymore. It may help you. I'm not saying it's bad. But the real decisions and the important ones come from inside you, not from the experts outside. So it's trusting your heart more. And I think that's the basic thing that I learned the most.
Would you like to share some of the experiences that you had, concrete experiences that you had that led to this insight?
Well, I don't know if you mean about ex-wives or failing businesses or which one you want to tackle. But that's what happens. I mean, we all go and try to get educated and everything, and all the experts tell you of 5 reasons, 5 steps to success. They don't know. I mean, they're guessing too. After a while, I said, God, these people don't even know what to do with their own life. How could you take advice? How do they have the audacity to tell somebody else to do with their life? I mean, they could suggest and tell you things like that. But to come out and say, these are the 7 rules to something, I think is it's harmful more than anything because people then believe that this is the way to do it. And then rule 2 or 3, it won't work for them. And then I say, fuck it. I guess that guy's an idiot. I wonder why I'm buying money. And then you stop. And that's the only thing you have to realize in trying to do something in life is not stop. And you will never find out what to do that's right until after it happens. So, and the only way to get there is to keep trying stuff until something happens.
Yeah, some of the books that speak about success have this idea of trial and success instead of the classical idea of trial and error. So I think that's what you were referring to. You just try until it works, until you find something that works.
Absolutely, and that's why and now at my age too, I think more about love than anything else. Tell you the truth, you see all art Sunday now. I used to wear suits with question marks because I thought if you ask the right questions, then you could get the right answer and move on in life. And that's what stopped us. We're not asking the right questions. And we could get answers to anything. So it's answering the right questions. But now, even if you ask the right questions and get the right answers, if your heart's not in it, it ain't going to work. I mean, I started, like I say, early, made fun of having 2 failing marriages before I got it right. I had probably 3 failing businesses. I got it right. I got an MBA in computers back in the 70s. And I had a software company back then that even failed. Man, I must have been the only person in the world. I was a coder, that failed. And then I started, when you fail a lot, then you become a consultant. And so I was a consultant of Fortune 500 companies living in Washington, D.C., and helping them buy and sell companies and get information because I was really a researcher more than anything. And I'd found out through that work of helping millionaires become billionaires, I found government programs to help them do this. So any company or they wanted to know about it, I could find information about it in Washington, public information, any market study they needed to know about the growth of anything. I remember working for a Fortune 500 company, wanted to sell electric blankets in Germany. Well, I went to an office in the Department of Commerce that had a free market study on that, and also money to help you push, get those blankets over to Germany, and free help to help you find people to distribute for in Germany. And if you go over there and want to sell it, they give you free office space to do that. All that stuff. And I see these people that were wealthy using all these free resources that I grew up in a little coal mining town in Pennsylvania with immigrant grandparents that came to work in the coal mines. I had no idea about the government, and I thought it was the IRS and and the post office. That was it. But it is just a wealth of information and money for anybody to use. And the rich people have figured this out. That's why Elon Musk is the number 2 guy in this country right now. He gets more government money than anybody else in the world, and he wants more. Naturally, that's what capitalism is. But it's there for everybody, for any kind of thing. You want to start your little business. You want to buy a house. You want to, you want to fix up your house. You want to get out of debt. All these things are programs, thousands and thousands of them in every state and local, but they don't advertise. And because they don't advertise, people don't know how to find them, don't know how to take advantage of them, and they go to Google instead, because that's where you go to find help. The problem is Google is part of capitalism and not part of the community part. I mean, I see we have, and I'm sure in your country too, we have really 2 sectors. We have capitalism, that needs money to do stuff. They'll help you as long as you have money. But then we have the community part where people are helping people. And in our country, that's 40% of everything in our country is the community, which is nonprofit organizations and government offices. So there's government and nonprofits make up 40%. Capitalism makes up 60% in our country. And we run to capitalism for things that really you could get from the community for free. But it's like going to Google and looking for a fire truck because your house is on fire. Well, if you find somebody to help you with your burned house on Google, they're going to get your credit card first, or you find the fire department, right? No credit card, they come out and just put out the fire. So that's what we have all over country, and most developed countries, and yours probably even has more. I'm not an expert on it, so I don't know. So that's what my mission has been after I failed and finally had a successful business is to really spend the rest of my life trying to educate people about the help that is out there if they only knew where it is and how to use it. So I do that now. So what I used to help Fortune 500 companies do and charge them thousands of dollars. They're going to make millions of dollars out of it. They don't care what they pay for it. I do the same thing, but for the average person, and I only charge $20. And what happened though, as things changed, I used to do it for books. So I used to sell books, reference books. Then people stopped buying reference books 10 years ago. And so I had to figure out another way to do it. And again, through trial and error and accident, I found out a community. A community is how you do this. And now I have 12,000 people helping each other take advantage of these programs. So it's not only me. I was worried. I mean, I thought, well, I still want to educate people about this, but people say you have to charge 500, 5,000. Then people will pay that, but I didn't want to be that guy. People could afford that. I didn't want to help them. I want to help the people who couldn't afford that. And I want to charge only $20. And they said I could. And we become so profitable that I actually, we give away like 40% of our sales every month. And that comes about $50,000 to $70,000 every month back to our members. And that's who we share the wealth with. After we pay ourselves and the staff, we give it back to members in way of grants that they could use however they want. We have 5 grants every month that we give back to members, and that's such a wonderful thing to feel, that I'd be able to. I thought you had to be Jeff Bezos or an ex-wife of his or something like that to do something like this. And no, just a schmuck like me from Pennsylvania able to do this, and that's very gratifying. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
The question was how did you come to see the world today? And then the next question was about how you came to your insight that love was most important in your life.
Well, I mean, of course, it's in all of us, and it was, but nothing I worked on because it was sort of like, I don't know, it's like drinking water or something, just something you did or something when you needed it or whatever. But now in my 80s, I feel that, see, everything, at least in our country, that men work on is like being stronger, right? Being smarter, being faster. Well, at 80, none of that stuff is going to get better. I can no way make any of those attributes better. They're just going to keep going downhill. But what I figured, I could love harder. Yeah, that I could keep growing. And that's why even I call it community. It's a loving community. People helping each other fulfill their needs and solve problems or whatever. So it's not only me. So every day in our community, we have members that just go live, and you can ask them questions about how they got this money and how they did it, and share that experience, which makes it grow in a way, because otherwise, if I was just answering every question, there's only so much I could do, and it'd be hard to do. Was that your dog? There's only so much one person can do, but now, boy, with members helping members, that was the key.
Yeah, that is a good point, that love is always capable of expanding and being extended, no matter what age, no matter what health situation you're in. And. So, yeah, that is a really beautiful recognition of the power that lies within us, no matter what. And of course, in Miracles, it says that you need to allow the blocks to the awareness of love's presence to be removed. So it says it's there. It's who we are. no matter what. The question is that we become aware of it. So we have to let the blocks be removed that keep us from being aware of love's presence.
No, I believe, and it took me. I wish I knew this earlier. I think it would have been a more satisfying life, and it's a selfish thing. I mean, to me, love and giving is not. I forget the name of what's the term when you're helping other people, but you're really helping yourself more than other people. It's a very selfish act, I think. It makes you feel so good. So why do we get a people want to give you a trophy for helping other people? No, I already I'm a selfish bastard. This is why I did it.
That's an interesting point because in A Course in Miracles, it also says the more you give, the more you have, basically, because what you give, you have. Now, if you're giving love, it can only become more. That doesn't, and so that's plays into what you were saying, that it's actually we're giving to ourselves is what it's basically saying in A Course in Miracles, because there is no one else. So I don't know if that plays into what you're thinking, but there's this idea that we all are one, and therefore what you give is what you have, right? You can't, that's what you get to keep. You can't keep something that you're not giving, in other words.
Yes, and that's what it is, and we don't know we have it. So that's why it's. I think giving it like that in your spectrum, because we have it, it reminds us that we have it. And to me, it's how do you feel comfortable in life? And I think opening your heart and loving makes the daily life a lot easier. I mean, I see life as it's terrible. You're going to get beat up in this life no matter who the hell you are. If you're human, shit's going to happen that you won't like, lots of it. So you're going to have to get through that. And how do you do that with feeling as little self persecution as possible? And the world hates you, which I feel a lot, we all do. And to get that, and I think opening your heart and feeling love, I think tampers that down for you to have a better daily life if your heart is open.
Yes, that's a very beautiful thought, that an open heart is actually the key to enjoying one's life. Because it also, in A Course in Miracles, it also has this thing about not protecting yourself. That's the only way to be protected. So you have to give up this protecting yourself from, I don't know what type of threat you imagine is there, because the moment you stop protecting yourself, you are protected. I think that's a very interesting thought to think
about. No, it's amazing. One question I have for you: when you talk about miracle, I don't know what you're talking about. Or what is that term? Or maybe I don't understand the whole line you're saying. That explain that a little more to me.
It's a book. It's called A Course in Miracles. And it has a lot of very, very, very beautiful things it has to say about how to see the world if you want to be happy. So it has things like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You can only be one of the two. So in order to be happy, you have to be willing to be wrong, right? About so many things, because you basically are wrong if you're unhappy. You have to be wrong about something.
Well, that's one thing about aging. You see how many things you were wrong about. But that's on. So it's called the Book of Miracles. Was that it?
A Course in Miracles.
I see. So that's the Course of Miracles. Yeah, I mean, I grew up. The religion I grew up was Catholicism, and I think in my late teens, early 20s, I got that. I went to Catholic schools a lot, so we just memorized stuff. I don't know what it was. Did and I went to teaching in Catholic schools and the Jesuits, actually Jesuits, and I flunked out of a Jesuit college, but I went to Jesuit prep school. And they're the ones that made me think and got me out of Catholicism anyway. Uh, so I know I'm spiritual. Yeah, I don't, yeah, religion, well, it's a club to me, and that's important. But the ideas are more important. And I think looking forward and helping people are more important to me than probably anything else. I know I'm an asshole. I know I do a lot of bad shit, and I hope it's just not malicious. And boy, it's keeping focused on something else in life than something bigger than life than you are, than I am. So I don't worry about me as much because that seems like a rabbit hole that I could not get out of if I keep doing that, because bad stuff happens to all of us every day. Um, it is. So I'm interested. I want to get, I think that book would be interesting for me. Just even if it's to steal some quotes. I love new words and connecting ideas together that are a little strange. Um, and so I'm always looking for good writers to steal from.
Well, quoting isn't stealing. It's actually enriching what we have to say, right? It's making it more tangible and easier to access because we're using different styles of words and thoughts to describe what we are saying. Of course, if you just that's you can see it differently. Of course, I think it's humorous to say you're stealing, but it's not. It's not technically stealing if you state where you have it from.
Well, I'm a professional plagiarizer, to tell you the truth. I've written 100 books, and two were New York Times bestsellers. And the first book I wrote that became a New York Times bestseller, I copied the whole thing from a government document. I flunked English in college, so I'm not, just big wordsmith but nothing in the government is copyrighted. You could take anything in our government and sell it to anything you want with it. And what I did is just change the titles to make people interested in it. And I went out and marketed it, became a New York Times bestseller. Didn't write a lick. In America, great.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thing that there are thoughts and works out there that are not copyrighted, are free. And even those by very famous people after 70 years after their death, I don't know if that's everywhere, but it's at least in Austria, then they're free. So yeah.
No, it's here. I thought it was 30 some, but I think they upped it too recently to 70 years. I don't pay attention as I did younger. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing much I talk about. My mission is really to get people to take advantage of the tools and resources that we have in this country that they don't know about and don't know how to use. And the rich people use the hell out of them. I mean, our country in the past 50 years, this is why I feel we have Donald Trump now, is because nobody's getting a bigger piece of the pie. We have the top 10% or so that are taking the majority of the growth and rewards in our country, and the bottom 90% has not seen their income grow in the last 50 years. And when inflation grows 300% that time, and actually the income of the bottom 90% grew about 30%. So if prices are raising 300% and your income is raising 30%, your hole is getting bigger and bigger, and you don't know what to do. And so then it's easy to be taken advantage of, I think, if someone promises that it's going to change. and, and maybe they could do it, maybe they can't, but it's too bad that, people do it in a cruel way. And we're subject to that if we're vulnerable because we don't know what else to do, and we're grabbing at life rafts anywhere, to try to get ahead. I'm sure it seems to be happening a lot in Europe too, but I don't know enough about it over there.
Yeah, it's very important to recognize the power that is there, right? Like you were saying about love and so on, and the abundance. You've discovered a source of abundance that is not being used by many people, but by a few. So yeah, I guess that's something that's also part of it. There is abundance where we wouldn't have guessed.
Now, that's another word I'll steal from you is abundance. Say billions and billions of dollars. No, the abundance. That's a nicer word. And so much of me is marketing because I never had money to advertise or something like that. And I found out the only way to get my ideas out is to use media. And media is attracted to weird, outrageous. That's why the way I dress sort of helps that. I found that out too. I was getting on all the talk shows and everything, not because of what I was saying. They didn't care what I said. It was how I said it. They need to fill time. So if you act weird, you'll get a lot of airtime. And so I saw when Trump first ran in his first campaign, I looked at him and said, God, he's getting so much publicity. He doesn't do any ads. Yeah, because he acts crazy like me. And the camera just follows you around. That's free advertising.
Yeah, if you do have a way of seeing things that people are not used to hearing but is helpful, yeah, I'm sure that gets you time as well.
Oh, that's nice of you. I appreciate the talk really, because people, particularly in the media, are not this thoughtful or whatever, or sensitive that give me the 5 ways I can make $1 million or some shit like this. And I'll give it to them and get the airtime, but there's more to it. And so it's interesting. And what I enjoy about this talk is hearing what I think, because that's why I always love giving advice, is that to hear what I think, I don't have the balls to do a lot of this stuff. But if I hear I'm professing it, yeah, that's what I should be doing. So it's hard to do. It's hard to be good in life, yeah. And so that's the best part of giving advice. I hear what I really believe, not what I get caught up in the daily life of surviving.
In A Course in Miracles, it also says, teach what you want to learn. So that plays into what you were just saying.
Oh, another another quote for my plagiarism skills.
Well, there's a lot of people who are quoting A Course in Miracles. I'm not the only one. So you probably just joined the crowd if you started quoting from A Course in Miracles.
Well, I don't know. I have a low tolerance for boredom, so I would do something crazy instead of I hate seeing myself everywhere. Like if everybody wore suits like this, I'd have a black suit. And I think it's just me from the inside screaming. You know, I don't know if it's to be heard or to be understood or to leave a mark. I don't know what it is. I'm not after more money kind of stuff. I certainly, the more money, if I get more money, it's ready to give it away to people who really need it. Um, I, living well, have something to do for the rest of my life that I love doing. I think it's stupid to retire. You know, uh, I mean, people in this country, and I'm sure most developed countries, they they do something all their life so they could do what they really want to do when they retire, or do something they are really not good at. Like my generation, you retired in the '60s and played golf in Florida. I like golf, but I'm shitty at it. It doesn't contribute to anything. Do it. Why would you want to do the rest of your life something you're mediocre at? You have so much inside of you to give that could be helpful to somebody else in some little way or whatever. And I think that keeps you alive more than anything, than getting 3 strokes off your handicap. You know, it just was beyond me, and I can't believe that I'm at 81 doing what I really thought of as a young person. I could remember thinking about this, retirement. Like my father did that. Why do people do this? Why do they want to have a life doing? But for immigrant parents or whatever, it's different. And I had the luxury of that. We weren't rich, we were middle class, paid for college, then kicked me out the door, which was fine. Um, but I don't think we're here anything more than to give and to love. Now, love, I probably wouldn't have said that even 4 or 5 years ago. Love was hard for me to say unless I married you. I thought I had to marry you. But I said I love you. Growing up a man in the 50s and 60s, man, it was John Wayne. And he didn't even know how to spell love. And so for me to finally say it was, now I even like saying it more, because that just saying the word opens my heart somehow and makes me feel better. Maybe because the background, I haven't said it for 70 some years. And that could be it. And we all have so much power in us to give, but we're so influenced by our environment. That's another thing I like about dressing the way I do. And I didn't do this until, I guess, my mid-50s or so. Did I have the courage? Because I lost a lot of money when I first did it and things like that. But it was something inside me I had to do. I remember they'd call me up to give a speech at Harvard Business School about branding, because they saw me on TV and everything, in the question mark suit, so they wanted to know more about branding. And I think I disappointed a big crowd of MBA students. I'm just having fun. They thought I had some big brain trust that mapped out this is a great brand. No, I'm just having fun. It's from the inside out. It's from my heart. This is my heart. This is me on the inside. This is what me I'm like on the inside. And putting it on the outside is a filter, because then if you like this, I know I'm going to like you. If you think I'm an asshole, we're saving each other lots of time, because this is really me. So you don't have to bother trying to be nice to me. Just ignore me.
That is important, to be authentic, as many people say. But authentic looks very different to everyone, right? So in your case, you want people to see things right away. Others are more shy about that, but that is also okay. So it's very fascinating when you decide to follow your passion, or your that things change. I was always like, okay, if you're passionate about something, you'll be really successful with it. It's not like I've always experienced it being that way or anything, but it is the key to be able to continue. And so, like you said, making so many mistakes all the time But the only way for you to find the way that it actually works is by making all those mistakes. So, yeah, I think the passion is the one that makes it possible to make all those mistakes without giving up. Mike isn't on.
You're uh, you're right. The That's why I say the heart is more important, because it's not, you can maybe know the right thing to do, but to get to the right thing, you have to go through much stuff. And if your heart's not in it, you're not going to last. And you're going to try to find an easier way, and there won't be an easier way. You'll just quit it doing something else, or be miserable for the rest of your life. Take your choice.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to recognize that we are love, right? And joy is something that only comes from within. And so all these actions that we do when we think, okay, the next, I don't know, the next check will be the one that makes me happy, or the next, whatever it is, right? The next car, the next house, the next person I meet, or the next job, or whatever it is, right? We have to recognize that the passion is what's makes the difference, not the outer circumstances. And so if we're trying to derive joy from the outer circumstances, well, yeah, we always mess up, of course. It doesn't work. So I mess up all the time. And yeah, maybe one day I will have learned the lesson and will be happier.
Well, you got lots of time, and I think we all grow from it. I mean, every time I thought I was having, like I thought, boy, having a New York Times bestseller list, I thought, oh boy, I would so goddamn happy, and then I got on the phone and called all my friends and bragged about it, and then it was over. So, now what I do? So it's not, the goal is a trap. Because you also see, if you're smart or anything, when you're trying to reach a goal, you're going to squeeze on the values a little bit to get to the goal. And we're all smart enough to do that and find little shortcuts or whatever. So, and our society encourages that, and so it's hard to fight that. I have a question for you. Number one, when you asked me to be on your program, did you know anything like this about me, or know anything, or what? Was there anything that you saw that would be what you got now?
Okay, this is a fun thing. As far as I know, you reached out to me, but it doesn't really matter in this case. And I asked a whole lot of questions to determine whether it would work out or not. Um, because your background was very different from many backgrounds that I had heard from other guests. But I'm like I said, I'm very open-minded, so I'm very interested in having diversity or very different backgrounds come on the show. So people with different backgrounds, different perspectives. What's important is the message, right? It's not it's not the form. It's the message that's important. And I think that's what it's all about. So yeah, let's enjoy this.
Oh, thank you. No, yeah, marketing and whatever is so hard, but this is. I'm so comfortable with who I am now, more than I've ever been, and I think part of it is because the more I get there, the better life is, and also the rewards. I mean, like now, I work as harder than ever, but it's not work. I haven't worked in 50 years. I just can't wait to get up and do this. Get up and have something that I think is important to do. It is like the best gift in life, And I gotta plan my next vacation. I just talk to my wife and everything, because we have yet 2 families here in the waiting room. And the last time I was on vacation with them 10 years ago. And vacation is just sitting on the beach. I mean, maybe if I had to recharge or once in a while, I used to do this. But now I just can't think of more important things to do to get up and I may be able to help somebody. Yeah, that seems like an obligation. Even dressing like this. I mean, here I'll walk through the halls or whatever, and just makes people smile. They don't know what I do or anything, but to be something that just my presence makes people smile. Man, can't get better than that. I walk down the street, people hug me. They don't even know you. You made my day. Just, Jesus. No, it's amazing life. I can't imagine anything better. And part of it's my heart growing and talking about that. But even my professional work, and I don't see anything different from professional or personal. Personal life is trying to understand. You want to love. You want to love as hard as you can. You want to work. I think you want to work as hard as you can. Why not? If you have talents to give, you want to give them as much as you can. You want to give that out. So if you find your talent that society appreciates, then you want to give it hard. You don't want to work a little bit. That's just, I can't get over it. I'm sure that people do that because they hate what they're doing. So it's your obligation somehow to start taking little baby steps away from that. And I think what stops people is that they can't think of anything perfect to do that will pay their overhead. And so they get stuck. It's sort of like a bad relationship. Well, they don't know a perfect person or whatever that will stop. But it's not going to happen unless you get out there, and get rid of where you are. Start taking little steps. You have a responsibility to take to yourself and your family or whatever that you're obligated to. But you could take little steps and start trying things to see where the little ray of light may come in. And we don't know what's out there. The world is so huge and so many opportunities. It's outrageous. And we're all chasing the same 5 things, which is stupid. We're all not going to partner up with the same 5 people. That's like, it's a cornucopia of all kinds of stuff out there. And if you're using as much as you can, that's why to me, we all are treated, maybe it's capitalism, whatever, to have a life where we use as little as we can. So we could win, right? And we want to win. So to me, that's sort of like my example is playing basketball against a 5-year-old. You're going to win every time, right? But that's not fun. You're not going to grow. Nothing's going to make you anything better or more satisfied in life than playing basketball against a 5-year-old. But we want a job like that. We want anything that's really easy, doesn't take much time, and makes a lot of money. And then we're not using ourselves. We're not growing. I feel we're organic, like a tree or a flower or something. And we have to grow, but we have to find the right pot to grow in. So we're all trying to grow in pots that aren't right for us.
Yeah, that's a big one to decide to take the risks, do the things, try them out and see what happens. And even if it goes wrong, if you're passionate about it, then you'll try another way and another way and another way until it works, like you said. So the whole thing is, we all started somewhere, right? I remember one of my things that I've been always saying, I remember when I got the impulse to do podcasts and so on, I was like, or teach A Course in Miracles or speak about it. It was like, at the time when I got that impression, I was like, I haven't even read the book. What should I do? Right? I'm willing, but I don't even know the book. So I have to start reading that book before I can teach anything or speak about it. So, okay, I did, but basically it was a very funny situation to get this impulse to do something that you haven't even read, right? Or even delved into all too deeply yet. Maybe a little, but not in the form that you would think you're an expert. And so it's not necessary to be an expert, because the beauty is that to share from where you are at is most powerful. That's the message I got. And that's what I tell everyone who's uncertain about whether they should be a guest or whether they should feel comfortable coming here, right? And being on the podcast. Yeah, come from where you are at now. That's the best place to teach from, to share from. And that's the most helpful. And I have to learn that lesson every day as well, right? Because where I'm at is the most powerful, not because I'm perfect. I mean, I play the guitar and sing with it. I just learned the guitar. It's like 2.5 years, a little bit of guitar playing, right? But I do it because it's fun. I really have fun. And so, yeah, so what? I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, and I'm still singing, and I'm loving it. And I think that's what we need to do, is to love what we're doing and stop this idea that you have to know what you're doing to be able to do it.
I believe that. You're, a couple things with my mind. I remember walking, I first started businesses and walking home, and I'd say, God, I can't think of a good idea. I can't think of a great idea. I can't think of a great idea. Then it occurred to me, when did I ever buy anything that was perfect? Well, we all buy shitty stuff. So mediocre is good enough. And then what you're saying about helping somebody, yeah, I mean, I think we're our own worst enemy. We don't know enough because we're at some level and we see somebody at a higher level. I'm not there, so I must not be good enough. But think of all the people who don't even know what you know, and you can help them. And that's the important thing. The people are way up there in a higher level. Someone like you are their audience. Your audience is broader. Need help because you were just one of them, just last week, and you could help them even more. Uh, yeah, I really feel. Then I also thought a lot about the only people that are stopping me from doing something is me. I used to think, oh, the world's against me. I can't do this. If I only had this or whatever. And boy, that's you stopping you from doing something. If you want to do it well enough, you have to be clever enough, like starting a business or get marketing. I mean, to me, I remember started marketing my consulting. I'd put 1-inch ads in the Wall Street Journal. Nobody would answer them. And then I started figuring out, hey, instead of buying ad space in magazines, how do we get them to write up about stuff? Yeah. So if I could get them to write up something, and I find the best way, at least for me to do that, was give stuff away. You give away what you have. Tell them, hey, this is easy. You could get it, or easy or not. But here, I'm just educating you about this. And people are lazy. Then they'll hire you because you told them about it. And that started me on the publicity thing. And then when I was starting to do consumer books, it was the same thing. And then in publicity wise, back in the 70s, 80s, it was all about talk shows. Every city had 18 talk shows and so on. So they all need guests. So I'd go city to city, do 50 cities and be a guest on all these shows. That was free advertising. So I worked up to, I did Oprah, I think 3 or 4 times, Letterman a bunch, and Larry King was a big one for me. He'd put me on air when somebody canceled, and stuff like that. So I was like a professional guest, but I couldn't grow enough because how many times can you get on Oprah? So then I started doing advertising on television. I didn't have money to do that because they'd tell me it's cost much. Then I figured out, hey, they don't sell all those ads all the time. So they got a lot of ads they have to sell. So I would do a commercial And I say, hey, use my commercial if nobody else buys the time, and I'll give you half the money I get. So it was no risk to me when they put it on, because they want to get $10,000 for the time. I didn't have that money. But here, nobody's going to pay $10,000. So that's why most people saw my commercials in the middle of the night, because that's when a lot of free time was. They had either me and Smokey the Bear or something like that was the only other commercial, some PSA. And it cost me no money. And that's why I made lots of money doing that, by not buying stuff. There's always another way to do things than what everybody else is doing. And you don't find that unless you have the passion that you really want to do what you want to do. Nope.
Yeah, I think it was so funny because it's similar to what my professor in anthropology told me and all of the students, is how he would hear about a talk show coming up about a subject, and then he said, hey, he called them and said, I'm the expert. Why are you taking these other people? I'm the expert. I'm an anthropologist. I can give you the answers, and I can be there. And then he would get on these radio shows and share about his knowledge and be able to get known. And I think that's a very remarkable thing, is to realize, okay, there's ways to be recognized that are not the ones where you have to pay for, but it's the ones where you're the one who's, they're thankful that you're covered. They pay you, perhaps. In his case, he was paid, right, for being the guest.
Absolutely. There's always more than one way to do anything. And you're not going to find it if your passion isn't, you have to have feel a higher calling in the thing. Sure, you want to make a living and stuff like that. And that still drives me. I feel like I have one bad sales day and I feel I'm going to be bankrupt next year or something. That kind of stuff goes through my head all the time. And my wife makes fun of me all the time. Oh, how are sales today? We going bankrupt next week? And I don't mind that, because I enjoy what I do so much. And to me, even if I overdo it, it's something will expand my mind to do it better somehow.
Yeah, it's also a thing with the podcasting, right? I get to know all these people for free, all these experts. They come on my show and I get to speak with them. So, yes, you get this wonderful pool of knowledge and wisdom from all over the world by being a podcaster, right? Otherwise, you'd have to pay, I don't know how much money. And not only I get to profit from it, but all kinds of people who get to watch and listen to the show. And so that's a really everyone benefits from it. And yeah. And people who come on the show, they often have their own wish to share their message, so that they benefit from it as well. So all sides have some benefits.
Also, can you tell me why you're on Telegram? I've never done Telegram before.
Well, it's free. It has no time limit, and it has virtual. It does. You can have so many people join live if they want to. There's the limit is so high that it doesn't make any. Until you are very, very huge, where you'd have the money to pay for more. The limit is not recognizable. So, yeah, you can do all of this for free.
Are you also on podcasts? Is that how we found each other?
You mean Pod Match, right? Yes.
So, what else can I do?
Well, it's basically time to wrap up. So, is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to share?
Well, what I do is my website, my community is leskohelp.com, and that's $20, and it's unlimited personal help to apply to every grant that's available. We also give out our own grants. We talked about a little bit, and members help each other uh, apply for this. And we got 12,000 members, but you don't need me. There's other ways to get this for free to start learning about it. And I want to give you a couple of websites here. One, if you need help with living expenses like a rent or a mortgage or utilities or fix up your house or almost anything, you're a senior, veteran, anything. We have a website in America called findhelp.org. Findhelp.org. Put in your zip code, and you could find, like in my zip code, I got 3,600 nonprofit organizations and government offices that help you. Like for rent, there's 70 different offices that give out free money and help for people who have trouble paying rent where I live. For utilities, there's 114 offices that help you pay utilities. Okay? So that's one thing. The other thing, if you want to start something as an entrepreneur, nonprofit, or invention, you get free consulting help to do that. And it's in every county, and there's dozens of in every city and state that are paid by government and nonprofit. To find them, you don't need me. You go to sba.gov and then / local dash or hyphen assistance, sba.gov / local hyphen assistance. Put in your zip code, and you'll find a half a dozen or 3 dozen nonprofit organizations that'll help you start anything like that. And they're all free, but you have to call them and make an appointment. That's the key to getting anything in the what I call the community economy that help each other. You have to call them. They're never going to call you. Google, they'll all call you. These people, you have to call them. So they're two great sources I think people could start with.
So thank you so much for your time and your willingness to share your adventure, your life, and your ideas, and why you are so passionate about what you do, and that you can continue at the age of 80 and higher to do this. So that's impressive, and to be willing to wear different clothes than other people. that's cool. So thank you for all of that. And yeah, anyone who has listened or is listening or watching, please subscribe to the podcast, spread the word. And if you're interested in being a guest, please reach out to me so that we can find a way to do that. And yeah, blessings to you all until next time. Bye.